All right, part 4 of our reaction to DDLJ. Thanks so much for coming back for all of the parts and not skipping over any of them and seeing all of our reaction to DDLJ. Now, if you want to get even more, the full uncut reaction from us, become a member of our YouTube channel or become a member of our Patreon page. You'll get access to our entire reaction, no edits, no compromises, but you'll need your own copy of the film. We are watching it through Amazon if you want the exact same version we have, so you can open it up in an adjacent window to our reaction, and we'll give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown sync. It'll be like you're watching it with 2 of your favorite pals from the internet.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump back into this. Here we go.
Shoot your shot. I don't know. Say something smart. Oh gosh. Whoa, that was like a thunderclap.
मेरे ही घर में घुसकर मेरी इज्जत के साथ खिलवाड़ किया है तुमने.
Dang, he's just taking it.
मेरी राय तुम्हारे बारे में बिल्कुल सही थी. तुम जैसे झूठे और आवारा लड़के बदलते नहीं और बिगड़ते हैं और बिगड़ते हैं.
Damn.
नहीं सिमरन नहीं भागा तो परायों से जाता है. अपनों से हम भागकर जाते भी तो कहाँ जाते. बाबूजी, मैं यहाँ किसी का दिल तोड़ने नहीं आया था, पर शायद मुझे में कुछ कमी होगी कि आपका दिल पूरी तरह जीत नहीं पाया. मुझे माफ कर देना प्रीति. मैं जानता हूँ कि मैंने तुम्हारा दिल दुखाया.
Oh. Come on, Dad.
He doesn't close the door.
Oh, he's gonna go after him.
With a gun.
No, maybe he's gonna be like, you know what? I think you're right.
राज सिमरन कहाँ है?
बाबूजी खुद उसे लेकर आएंगे. उन्हें उसे लाना ही होगा.
He's got so much confidence.
I called it.
Oh.
मैं और कुछ सुनना नहीं चाहता. आप चले जाइए यहाँ से. आपके बेटे ने हम सबको धोखा दिया है. मैं अपनी बेटी को ऐसे झूठे आवारा लड़की सा बस.
Whoa, 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 the echo.
मेरा बेटा मेरा गुरूर है. मेरे गुरूर को मत ललकारिए.
Oh, man. Oh, here comes Dad. Oh, no, you don't hit an elder. Come on now. What are all these people doing? Yeah, don't hit his dad.
जी तो राज की लड़ाई हो रही है स्टेशन पर. मुझे लगता है हम सबको चलना चाहिए. कहीं ऐसा ना हो कोई किसी की जान ले ले. अलर्ट हो जाए.
Is the station like right outside? Because Pops got back there real quick. This fight is going on so long.
All right. Beast mode activated. This guy in the tank top.
Oh, wow. It's like missing.
I know. We're not watching this for the action.
I was expecting like an epic kung fu fight scene. What are you talking about? I thought that's what people came to DDLJ for.
But his pops, like you said, hasn't pulled out the trump card, which is that Kuljit is a nasty, nasty guy. Damn, they both got beat up. Come on, ladies.
मुझे जाने दीजिए बाबूजी. प्लीज बाबूजी मुझे जाने दीजिए. प्लीज बाबूजी मुझे मेरे दाद के पास जाने.
Run!
जा सिमरन जा.
Pug!
लड़के से ज्यादा प्यार तुझे और कोई नहीं कर सकता.
Yeah.
जा सिमरन. जा जी ले अपनी जिंदगी.
Yeah.
जा बेटा जा.
Yeah. Pug.
Asshole. You gotta run. I like how he held on to her until the train was like departing.
Come on! Run, girl, run! Faster!
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez, that's like a really long way to go. It's only gonna pick up speed. Come on. Aww. Aww.
ले जाएंगे दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे ओ पुरकी अब वो भी
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah, no, it feels like this was years ago.
I know. I feel like we lived an entire lifetime while watching this movie, but like not in a bad way. Just that, like, we went through the whole journey of their love together. Aww. Come fall in love. How cute. Do we have like a music video at the end? That's it? Aww.
Wow, that's just the end of it. Whoa, like no credits or anything. It just stops.
Ended. We know why you were here. Peace out. You got the ending you wanted.
You know, for this movie being as old as it is, you know, and the expectation or the anticipation leading up to it, because it's like it's been in theaters for like forever and like hasn't stopped playing. It's still playing.
Yeah.
And so there's like going into it, I'm like, gosh, am I gonna like this? You know, because there's almost this pressure from the audience to like it, right? Because it's a classic movie that's been playing nonstop in theaters. And thankfully, it was really, really, really good. Because I was watching, I'm like, I really like this movie. We got into like hour 2 and 2 hours and 10 minutes or so, and I'm like, I really like this movie a lot. This is great stuff. The action at the end was very questionable.
That was the one thing that I was like, okay, this is not the strongest part of the movie, but I can forgive it because, like I said, when we were watching it, it's not about that.
Right. There's some certain SRK-isms, shall we say,
Sure.
that usually come with SRK in his films. And this is where I saw it less or the least, you know, where it was just like he was just doing a really good job. Like obviously when Kajol and SRK are first on that train together, he's doing his SRK-isms quite a bit.
Yeah.
But outside of that scene, he really embodied this character very, very well and did a nice transformation from this guy who's more of a scoundrel to this guy who's just totally fallen in love with this girl, using all of his scoundrel tactics to win over the family.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was a lot of fun. And Kajol like did such a fantastic job with whatever she had to do in this movie, and I was most impressed by when she just had to listen.
I really, really enjoyed her acting in this, and like pretty much in everything that I've seen her in. Like you say, she's really good at that active listening, and she's just so present, and she's always so vulnerable with like every scene. Like, you know, you just feel the emotions just running through her, and she is a real joy to watch.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed SRK's acting in this.
Yeah.
This might be, it's weird to say this, but it might be my favorite performance from him because I really liked him in Chak to India. Like there were certain scenes in here where he just has, like what you just described with Kajol, he had this vulnerability to him that I really, really enjoyed.
I would be hard pressed to say which movie I've seen so far, like which role I've seen Shah Rukh Khan in that is my absolute favorite, because it seems like every single time I watch a new classic SRK movie, I'm like, oh no, I think this is my favorite. Like, I loved him in Veer Zara. I loved him in Chak to India. I loved him in My Name is Khan. And now this, I'm like, I love him in this. I guess all the characters are a little different, but this totally, like, I understand why there is such a huge fan base for this movie.
Yeah,
I understand why it was in cinemas and still is in cinemas like for so long. There's just something about this which just makes you feel good. It makes you feel really happy, and like even after spending 3 hours watching it, I'm like, if this ever came on the TV, I'd watch it again.
It definitely has that rewatchability.
Yeah.
And I could see why it's been parodied and copied and,
Yeah.
you know, replicated. And like, even with them two trying to catch that lightning in a bottle again of the spark that these two have.
chemistry,
The chemistry that these two
yeah.
have on camera together and the romance and whatever. I can see why they have repeatedly made movies together. I don't know that any of the other instances that they have performed together have come close to this. Because like, this is really special.
Yeah.
Obviously those other movies were good and they were fun and they are classics in their own right and very enjoyable, but like this one, I feel like stands the test of time better. The music being very timeless.
Yeah, I love the music.
And the way it's shot and everything like that. The
story.
Yeah. Like, obviously, there were some moments, one particular moment in the car. Anytime they had car shots, I was just a little, like, confused why it was shot the way it was. Because throughout the film, the lighting is beautiful.
Yeah.
And then in the car stuff, I'm like, that's like harsh shadows on the face. I'm like, what? This is unlike the rest of the movie completely. Outside of that, like, it was just beautifully shot. And it was done in a very classical style. Just all around had positive feelings while watching it. And earlier we watched something.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said in our like discussion of it was I wouldn't ever be inclined to watch that again. But like if like you just said a moment ago, if this is on TV, like I'm happy to like have this on. I don't know that I'd sit through the whole thing again, but I'm happy to have it on while I'm doing other things.
It just feels comfortable. It feels like a warm embrace.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel so happy because it does have all of those kind of rom-com tropes, which is why we were able to predict so many things that would happen. It's like, you kind of know the beats, you know what's going to happen, but it's so delightful to hang out with this cast of characters. It's so delightful hanging out with Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol as Raj and Simran. Like, they're so cute together, and you're just like, I want them to win. And you know they're going to win, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because we've watched so many Indian movies now, and like you said, this has been parodied, and the scene at the end of the train, I knew that they were going to get together and all of that. And so it wasn't a surprise, but I still found myself rooting for the characters because how could you not? Like, you just fall in love with them as you're going through this long ass movie, which didn't even feel long because you're going through the journey of, like you said, it feels like it was a whole year because we went through all the beats of the relationship of them like not liking each other and then kind of like starting to like each other and then falling in love and then kind of having to go through all of these obstacles to get together at the end. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's very Indian.
Yes.
In the way that the structure of the story was handled. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really cool, and I can see why it became a classic. I wondered a lot about the actor who played Kajol's father. Because it's like I don't know anything about him. It's like his face is new to me. While watching it, I wondered if he was like a classic Indian actor who's been around for decades. And that moment when he's singing to his wife on the roof, I wondered if that was like some sort of cultural callback to like
something else
earlier
that he had done.
Indian film or something, like, and it's like for the audience at that time, if that was like sort of for them reminiscing of like the films he used to do.
Right, yeah.
And
I could see that.
I pulled up his IMDb just now, and he's got like 300 credits to his name.
Wow.
And so he died 10 years after this movie came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it's just wild, like how many like credits he's got. Like, it's just stacked. So I would imagine that he must have been a classic actor to assume that role. He had a very, very intense dagger stare.
Very.
That was like, whoa, it's like unchanging.
Yeah.
How he's like trying to kill SRK with his eyes.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild.
It was pretty scary. And I have to say, like, I loved the mom as well. She was awesome. But both her and the auntie, they had this amazing skill to be able to move their forehead and eyebrows so well. Like in that scene where the mom realizes that Raj is the guy that Simran fell in love with in Europe.
Yeah.
And she goes through all of these emotions in close-up, and she does that by like moving her eyebrows and her forehead and just showing us like all the different thought processes of like, oh my God, this is bad.
Yeah.
But no, I love my daughter. And then she cries, and I'm like, bravo, what a feat of just that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's interesting how this is like a hangout movie for 3 hours. You know what I mean? I was thinking about it a lot with regards to the last hour, because I'm like, the movie really moves.
Yeah.
And speaking objectively, that last hour is where things start to slow down because it's all taking place at that house. And it's him just trying to win over the family. And if there was anything, like, I understand it's a classic, okay? So let me just preface with that again. If there's anything I were to personally change, it would be to like kind of truncate that stuff a little bit. But I think that it might have earned it for me anyway. This is something that has to like sit with me for a while, and I can come back and like give it like my true thoughts. Like coming out of Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm like, that was great. And then like a few weeks later, I'm like, it wasn't so great. It was enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so like, this is just like fresh off the movie. I think it won me over because I'm all about solidarity. That's a big philosophy of mine when it comes to relationships. And so when that scene happened where she was like, I haven't eaten all day and I was going to die. And then, the sister like lets the cat out of the bag and says he hasn't eaten all day either.
Yeah.
And like that to me just was like super cool. I don't know, like everything culminating towards that moment where you find out just how far he's going. Like it's not just coming to India. It's not just tricking everybody, but he's also starving himself because that's what she wants to do, even though he is adamantly opposed to it, even though he doesn't give a shit about it. He's like, well, this is something that she is doing. I'm going to suffer with her.
Not only that, but like he really proves like going on this journey from the guy that he was in the beginning, who was, pretty much a douchebag, to then falling in love and proving that actually, her dad is right. There is no one else that could love her that way, as much as he does. And he shows us, the audience, as well as showing, her and the family, and he wins us all over by the end.
Shah Rukh Khan or Raj obviously cares about Simran way more than Simran's friends, because her friend said, I'll be at the wedding. She never showed up.
That's right.
I'm like,
those bitches.
where's her friend? Like, nothing. No, never made an appearance. I'm like, what the hell? That's weird.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'm not coming to India.
I really, really enjoyed this movie. It was a blast.
It was interesting also, the relationships that they gave us with it feels very contrary to what you might actually find in Indian family dynamics. Anupam Kher, who plays SRK's father, and he almost played it like an older brother, in terms of, like, his son didn't even graduate. His son flunked out.
Yeah.
And he was cool for the most part, and he was still fanning the flame of his son, of whatever his son wanted to do. He was still very passionate about his son and very supportive. That's just unreal. And then with the mom, for Kajol, it was the same thing. It's like, even though she kind of deviated from that when they were in India, outside at that window point, when she was like, look, I need you to just like swallow this and forget about him. Outside of that moment, she was very supportive too. And it makes me wonder about like, how much this impacted culturally for families at home after this movie, like, because it played for 25 years in theaters. Like, it had to have some kind of an impact for, it resonated so deeply with the Indian audience. Like, how did parents behave after this? And how did parents who are parents today from kids in 95, how did they, raise their children? You know what I mean? Like, I have so many questions with regards to that.
Well, I wonder as well if they're kind of like the fantasy Indian parents. We have a lot of this like Asian American content where the joke is, well, it's not a joke in the thing, but like the joke is that, oh, all we want is for our parents to say, like, I'm proud of you, son, or like, I love you, or whatever. And so I wonder if this is like OG Indian version of that, where you have a mother and a father who are very close to their kids and very understanding and stuff. And like you say, maybe it was done in such a way to hopefully inspire parents to be more, open-minded and friendly and supportive with their children. Whether or not that actually happened is, you guys tell us.
Well, a number of these, classic Indian films have those kinds of themes running through it. Like, if you look at Three Idiots, even though that's more recent, it's considered a classic, right? It's one of the most successful Indian films of all time. There are themes like that running through that movie. It's like, be supportive of your kids. You don't have to put the pressure on them. I was just rewatching a little bit of that today to make my video, which no one's watching apparently. Indian Auntie, or the
NRI Auntie.
NRI Auntie, the video game.
Yeah.
Our team worked hard on that video. But anyway, I was kind of like scanning through Three Idiots to add in one more joke. And there was a scene with Amir Khan, who's like basically kind of testing the students. And did you ever see Three Idiots?
Yeah, I did.
So he's testing the students, and he's put this word on the chalkboard, and it's like everyone's trying to figure out what the word is. And he's basically like trying to explain, like, you guys didn't do this excited. You did this because of pressure, and it didn't feel good. And it's like the film is trying to educate people on their approach to school. And I'm like, okay, so the movie was wildly successful. How much did that impact everybody culturally? Did their behavior change? Did the relationship between parents and children change when you have something that's that successful? Or is it just fantasy? There's a lot of music in this movie. And I thought that so many of the songs are really good. The comment I made in the middle of the film, I still stand by that. I wish that they had chosen someone else. I understand it's a classic, okay? I mean, keep repeating that. Kajol's voice, I wish was a different singer. I wish it was someone that sounded more like her.
Sure.
Because it just sounded like a completely different woman.
Yeah.
You know, whoever did Shah Rukh Khan's vocals, like, I don't...
Yeah,
it just sounded closer.
It wasn't jarring.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, I can imagine that being Shah Rukh Khan's singing voice. But I think also for the time, I think it was just common practice that was the type of voice, the type of female voice that they would use for songs, regardless of, you know, who the actress was. But as far as it being a musical, I really, really enjoyed it. Like,
well, you know the classic, you know the rules of musicals better than anyone.
Well, yeah, I do, but like, you know how sometimes there have been times where we've watched some Indian films and it's just felt like the music's kind of been shoehorned in because you
that's more
you
recent.
have to have music. Well, yeah, more recently. But this one, I guess because back in those days it was just like, this is a musical, so this is what we have planned for it. And the musical numbers just felt really organic. They moved the story along. They were fun to watch. They had a story.
They had emotion.
They had emotion. And the songs themselves were really great. Like, so catchy. Like, the DDLJ song is so iconic. Like, you hear that little whatever the instrument
banjo.
is, the banjo, the mandolin, whatever, and you're like, I know what this is because it's so iconic. And like, all of the elements of this movie came together to, like you say, create lightning in a bottle and just be this super iconic movie. You know, like, it was just so well done on all aspects, I think.
Yeah, between the acting, the music, the costume,
Yeah.
the set design. The only thing that stood out to me in terms of the set that was like kind of weird was when they got to India and Kajol's looking out the window. I'm like, that's clearly a backdrop. That's
Right.
clearly not a real, that's a sound stage. And I understand why they did it. They're trying to control the light, the environment, etc. It's like, it's not wind on her, that's a fan, right? I understand why they made those choices. I just wish they had a better backdrop that was convincingly real.
Well, because they use so many really cool locations
Right.
as well. Like all of the stuff in Switzerland and London and even in Punjab, you know, like where the exteriors were just so gorgeous that I can see why that could be a little bit jarring. Just be like, oh, that feels like a set.
I'm not the biggest when it comes to like romantic comedies or romance films in general, right? But I do like how they portrayed the feeling of romance in this movie of when you have this I don't know, this passion for someone and their minds just like warp to these other places of being with this person, and it's like a real fantasy. And I actually really dug all that. What played through my head a little bit while watching the film is when we interviewed Jimmy Shergill, and he was talking about like how many times can he do these romantic films of running around the trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I laughed because I'm like, that is kind of ridiculous. But like watching this, I'm like, no, but this is dope.
Yeah, this was dope.
Yeah, like-
that's the thing. It's like I said, this is so iconic. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. This is what a good rom-com should be. And like, that's why it's so classic, and that's why this genre is so good and so timeless. And it's sad in a way that in recent years we've been getting less and less of that, and I don't know if it's something that like really peaked in the 90s and early 2000s. Even though you knew all of the tropes, even though you knew that in the end, like, it always starts with boy and girl meet, boy and girl don't like each other. Boy and girl end up liking each other, and then they fall in love, but there are problems and obstacles, and then in the end they overcome all these obstacles. Even though you know beat for beat what's gonna happen, there's something so charming about these movies when they're done right. It just makes you feel good, and it has a lot of rewatchability factor because like the way that it's able to just lift your mood and make you feel good and put a smile on your face. You know, it's just so wholesome.
Well, that's you kind of beat me to the punch there. It's interesting to me how wholesome the movie is and how and still engaging and moving it is at the same time. Because we live in an era right now where everything has to be very real and pretty, and you know, with the shaky cam, and you know, growing up in America, you know, you're exposed to different kinds of movies, which is like the sexual content in films over here is just different, and attitude towards intimacy, I guess, is just different. And so to see how it's portrayed in this movie, even if it's not like super representative of everything that goes on in real life, I just thought it was cool how wholesome it was. Because it just makes it easier to enjoy with your family and your kids and whatever.
Yeah.
And you still get a lot out of it, you know? It's like, how many films can you think of that do that, where it's like, I mean, obviously it got a little bit violent towards the end. You know, a little bit of violence is excusable.
It's fine. Yeah.
But like, how many films can you think of where it's like, it's wholesome and it's still so moving, and comedy is still very rich, where it tickles you?
Because there's a lot of like really great situational comedy there as well.
Yeah.
You know, like so much happened in this movie.
Yeah, my complaints are far and few between when it comes to this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I did feel the last hour. Like, it was like, because everything was moving along quick, and then that last hour, I'm like, okay, it feels like 3 hours now. And it probably has something to do with the fact that I had to pee. But like, I was still enjoying just the relationship and the dynamic and whatnot, and how he was charming everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and he would get kind of stumbly and bumbly when he was encountering the dad, because he hasn't confronted the dad yet about the beer incident back home in London. I liked seeing his journey and like his complete total transformation. The end is why I called it very Indian, is because like he was going, here, I gotta let the dad basically make the decision here, as opposed to what the very Western idea is, that your main character has to like fight like to the end for this thing that he wants, or she wants, as it were, right?
Yeah.
Whereas he had to like back off and go, no, like the dad's he's put it in the dad's hands.
Yeah, sometimes I guess the lesson there is sometimes you have to
let go.
Like, you do the right thing to the extent that you can do it, and then you have to let go. It's out of your hands, but trust that it's gonna come back to you. I thought his character had so much confidence, because he was like, no, she is gonna come.
No, not only that, he's gonna bring
her to me. I was like, dang, okay, I don't know how this is gonna happen, but I'm here for the ride.
In his mind, he was doing the right thing. You know, he was being very honorable.
Yes, he was, and that was really important to him. And yeah, I feel like that is something that we see a lot of in Indian romance films, and I usually bring this up because it is so different from what we're used to in Western movies, because the family unit doesn't feel as important in the West as it is in India and in Asia. And so,
well, we've had a major breakdown of community here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so in the West, it would just be like, yeah, just elope, we're gonna elope. Here it's like, we can elope, that's the easy thing to do, but that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to like bring our families together and make sure that your dad is okay with it.
It's funny because I do like what he was saying in that moment. I just wish that we got the reverse of Kajol's face. And I felt like it was a disrespect to a certain degree that we didn't get to see her reaction at all when he had that monologue of why he has to take this path.
Yeah.
You know?
He is good at those monologues.
No,
though.
he is. But I just wish that we saw Kajol's face.
Yeah.
And I wish that when Amrish Puri was looking, I wish he had other expressions other than like the daggers he was staring the entire time.
Maybe he was directed to do that. Who knows?
It felt like they didn't get coverage of him. And they just kept cutting to the same shot.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe that's what happened with Kajol too. Like maybe they just didn't get coverage. They ran out of time or something.
You're seeing imperfections in the final product, which has its own charm to it. But they're imperfections born out of the fact that this is shot on film.
Yeah.
And it's like film takes way more consideration and effort than digital does. Mm-hmm. A lot more. And so you'll see like embedded scratches that's just baked into the final product because that's the take they went with.
That was the best take.
And like they didn't check the gate or whatever, like whatever happened that day, and dust got in there and it was like permanently embedded and infused into the film celluloid. That's just how it is. And like there's something special about that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it not being digital leads to the possibility that some stuff might have gotten lost, you know, like Kajol's reverse or his other expressions. It's like, okay, we just got to make this work somehow. Yeah. And they did.
They made an excellent movie.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It really, really won me over, and I can understand why it's a classic. The music's great, the acting's great, the picture's great all around. Yeah, I thought that it gave me a lot of, just gave me a lot, you know, emotionally, mentally, philosophically, everything. It was great, yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching this with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. I am Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.